This week's Four Questions Journalist Spotlight is brought to you by Leff's Atlanta Media, Atlanta's best journalist database. Subscribe at leffsatlantamedia.com.
Welcome to another edition of our Four Questions Journalist Spotlight. We're talking today with Josephine Bennett with Georgia Public Broadcasting. Good afternoon, Josephine. How are you today?
I'm great, Mitch. How are you?
Good. I want to make sure I got your title correct because I know it's your job has shifted a little bit recently. So tell me what exactly is your title?
My formal title is Director of News and Partnerships, and basically that means in terms most people would understand, I'm the news director, and then I also work on partnerships with other media organizations, nonprofits, etc. And on special projects.
Okay. And so I think sometimes people think of Georgia Public Broadcasting on the TV side, and sometimes they think about the radio side, but I think it's important for folks to understand that there's both. You've got two sides to it. So give us a little feel for the size and scope of how many people across Georgia that GPB reaches.
Sure. So we reach everyone. So we are our home station. I mean, our headquarters are in Atlanta, but we have stations all around the state. Not all of those. I mean, there's, it's a moving target, I think 20. So hopefully I might be off by one, but and so those are everywhere. We have actual reporters based in Macon and in Savannah. So, and they travel a lot. And then our reporters in Atlanta also go to all parts of the state.
How would you differentiate your coverage? And I've worked with a lot of your reporters, but for a company or a PR person or someone who is thinking, I'd like to work with GPB, how do you describe your coverage compared to other media?
I would say that we focus a lot on second day stories. So something happens, let's say the legislature votes on something. We'll tell people about it, but we're also going to look at the public policy, the impact of that public policy, sort of those deeper dive stories that take just a longer look at what the impact will be on people. And not just, because we're statewide, it's going to be a little bit different depending on where you live. So I would say that's probably the main difference with us.
And obviously, if you're thinking about pitching a story over there to GPB, think about something that has interest to people outside of Metro Atlanta, because your reach is not just people here, right?
Right. I mean, we talk about Atlanta, but we also, because we've been statewide for so long, our reporters are really used to telling that story in a way that, hopefully engages everybody. So, a decision is made. You might not think it has an impact on you, but we're going to tell that story in a way that will make you care, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and your radio segments are a little bit longer than some stations, so you have a little bit more time to tell the story than some stations do in certain markets. And I know in a lot of markets, around Georgia, that local original content is a lot more limited than it used to be, right? So you guys are the source of news in a lot of cities where a lot of the stations just don't have the staff to
definitely. And we're going to go to the places and tell the stories that might never get told if we weren't there. And I think about some of the things we're reporting on now. They're just not things people talk about very much. So it's those things that matter, but often get ignored.
So what's a good example of that?
Well, right now we have a reporter working on pedestrian fatalities and why the numbers are so high, and kind of the what is being done to address it, but why some of the solutions that we might think about wouldn't necessarily work based on how those roads are designated. I hope that makes sense. We have a story that just came out this week about the impact of a particular rural hospital closure. When COVID first started, we sent a reporter down to Albany, and that reporter, that was actually like a national hotspot, and he was one of the first people to go down there and really stay on top of that. So, and we tell fun stories too. We haven't been able to do as much of that as possible, as we used to, but sort of those who knew stories. So we've got someone working on a story about Igbo landing and the historical context around that in coastal Georgia. We had our Savannah reporter talk about how preservation is being used to address housing shortages. So it really runs the gamut. And I would say our audience is like a lot of public radio audiences. They're, lifelong learners, really curious. And so just because something isn't happening in their particular community, they're going to be interested nonetheless.
So if someone has a good story idea, do you suggest coming through you or going to a specific reporter or some combination of both?
I would say, feel free to reach out to our reporters. Everybody's email address is on our website. I'm sort of the person that curates all of the stuff, and we get a lot of it. So I do look at every single email. Sometimes if we can't cover something, we might not have the person to do it. It doesn't mean we're not interested.
Sure.
So we might hold it for a later time. Also, press releases that tell us about something that has already happened. I hate to say it, but they're kind of useless. And we like to have a little bit of lead time. So if we do want to cover something, we have the time to have somebody ready to do that. So hopefully it's going to be a little easier now that seems like we're having a break with COVID. And of course, there's always politics, and that's always busy. So
Right. Yeah. And I know you guys don't cover the same kind of day of breaking news stories.
Right.
That's kind of not your thing. On the TV side, are there kind of some shows that you might want to highlight or mention that are kind of unique and different?
Yeah. Well, during the legislative session, we have lawmakers. So that is laser focused on the legislature. As far as locally produced television shows, we have a lot of education focused programming. We're kind of thinking about possibly doing some more public affairs things, so stay tuned for that. And so, I hear about the things going on the TV side. We do work during the session. We work very hand in hand with lawmakers. But sometimes I don't always hear about things. I'm probably super focused on the news side. So if that makes sense.
Sure. Are there, you mentioned obviously you got the primaries coming up in a couple of weeks, and then no doubt some runoffs after that, and then general elections in the fall. So I'm assuming that's a big focus for Stephen Fowler and Riley Bunch, who kind of do a lot of your political reporting.
Yeah, that's, but given our geography, I think it's, it's something everybody's going to be keeping an eye on. And also, we're going to look at a lot of the public policy views of the candidates this time around. Riley, that's something she has focused a lot on. So, you have a candidate, where do they stand, and how, if things change, would that impact communities, kind of just to give a little more context to politics. But yeah, it's just, thank goodness we have partnerships, and we also, of course, have AP. So for the things we can't be at and can't get to, we'll rely on others. But it's going to be busy. I've got literally reporters that plan their lives, their vacations, everything around voting and elections.
Sure,
so,
absolutely. But that's your beat. You gotta look at that. Can't say I don't think I'm going to take off the last part of October for somewhere early November.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
No, no.
Yeah, we were down at GPB this earlier in the week, kind of working on the debates with the Atlanta Press Club. So I spent 3 days camped out in the conference room there.
Yeah.
But good crew doing the broadcast there. Tess and Kevin Gerke, shout out to those folks.
He's fantastic, and they've really got it down to a science. I mean, it is, it's wonderful that they've been doing it for a long time, and it's so important. I downloaded sometimes I have a terrestrial antenna, but it's not great, and so I was watching on the app live, and it was, it's really, I talked to some, people I know in my community about the debates, and said, you really need to watch these before you go and you vote. Because, no matter where you fall, you want to be aware of what the candidates are saying.
Yeah. I mean, when you sit there and listen to them for an hour, you get a good feel for their character and their personality and where they stand on the key issues. And
the debates also makes me aware of just how many great journalists there are in Georgia. I mean, there were plenty of people to ask questions, and it's impressive.
Yeah, we had an anchor from one from Savannah, but we had somebody from Chattanooga, a couple of your folks, AP, AJC. I think we had about 40 journalists kind of as moderators and panelists over the 3 days. I think it was like 90 candidates or something like that.
Hard to keep track. There were a lot of them.
Yeah. It was, and most of it flowed well. We had a couple that were late or got lost, or we had one that thought the whole thing was virtual and was confused about why he was supposed to be there. So, but there's always one or two of those little things that pop up, like, oh, I'm lost, I can't find GPB. It's
right.
Like, all right, we're kind of question whether someone can't find GPB, but anyway, it's a big building. So the hard question, Josephine. So what's something kind of fun and cool about you that people might not know about?
Well, and I have to name my husband in this too, because he's been part of it. I have fostered a lot of shelter animals. So probably 20 dogs, I would guess. We're taking a little break right now because my husband's had to be out of town, and we have 3 dogs. They're out taking a walk right now. So, but that has been really rewarding. Georgia has so many, our shelters, in fact, right now, I've never seen them this full, and animals that can transport if people are just willing to open their homes. So, and we have 3 personal dogs. So I call it the island of misfit toys, because ours are all rescues. And so that's probably something different about me.
Let's throw out some love here. So if someone wants to foster a dog, who would they call? How would they find the opportunity?
So, depending on your location, there's municipal shelters all over the state of Georgia. Sometimes they're a great place to start because they can connect you with a rescue. I foster for a rescue that is based in Maine, called the Pixel Fund, and they pull a lot of animals, occasionally from Atlanta, but a lot from Middle Georgia, and there's so many in Atlanta, and they're always desperate looking for fosters, because were it not for fosters, quite frankly, a lot of these dogs and cats are never going to make it out.
So how long do you usually keep a pet or an animal?
Yeah, normally it depends on their temperament. If they need a lot of TLC. We've had some slightly feral ones. One stayed over a year, but typically if they don't have heartworm, and they just kind of need a place to hang out, about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then that's for animals that transport. If they're going to stay locally, it's just going to be until they're adopted.
Right.
So it really runs the gamut. But we've had, and people tend to tend to think, oh, they're all going to be one particular kind of animal. We've literally had, I said, the only breeds we haven't had are a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and a Golden Retriever, because those animals don't seem to make it into rescue quite as often, although there are breed-specific rescues in Georgia that, that deal with both of those breeds. But it's just, like I said, it's something I just got sick of seeing in my community, that they were euthanizing animals. And I was like, this is not okay with me.
Yeah,
I'm from Connecticut, and it blew my mind. So anyway,
well, it's great that you do that. And the reason I asked kind of the length is people might be listening or watching and thinking, well, I can't take a dog for a year, but I could take the dog or a cat for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's kind of or maybe a reasonable time frame for someone. I figure, okay, I have time over the summer. I have time, this month to do it. So, all right, that's great. All right, so it's kind of the lightning round here. So, what's the give you a choice, either the last book you've read or the last podcast you've listened to that wasn't a GPB podcast?
Okay, yeah, because I edit Battleground Ballot Box, so I was going to say it was that. Actually. 70 over 70. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I love listening to the wisdom of older people. I think I was just raised being told, respect your elders a lot.
Sure.
So I think it's from Pineapple Street Media. And they basically talk to people over 70. I mean, the things, the wisdom they have gleaned from just being on the planet so long is really cool. And I think, quite frankly, I look ahead to the future. I think, how do I watch both my parents age, and I think, what's the best way to do this and to stay really engaged? And so that's probably it. And I'm currently reading a book. I see a theme here, Ninth Street Women, about, I heard about it on NPR. That it was a group of 5 women that kind of made their foray into contemporary art when women did not do that. So it's really interesting. It's super long, and the font is really tiny, so it's taking me a while to get through. Okay. So I would say those are the 2.
All right, favorite local restaurant?
Well, I am based in I work in Atlanta some of the time, but I'm based in Macon. So I'm going to give, if you're ever here, a restaurant called Grow. It's kind of I eat vegetarian, I would say about 85 to 90% of the time. So they serve food with fresh local produce. So, and the menu changes constantly. I also I'm sorry, I'm going to name 2. There's some iconic restaurants in Macon. I'll mention H&H when I'm just like when you need a breakfast.
Yep.
I'm going to go there, and we just love to do brunches there because it's just a great breakfast.
All right. Favorite guilty pleasure?
Okay. Well, I can never think of a day that I've gone without chocolate. And my daughter kind of got me hooked on occasionally watching TikTok. I do not post on it. I think I have one video up of my dog. But when I'm Twittered out from checking news at the end of the day, I'll watch it for about 20 minutes. I mostly follow comedians and, I don't know, just random stuff just as a palate cleanser. Right. So I would say that's probably a guilty pleasure.
And favorite local getaway?
I'm a beach person, so I would say coastal Georgia. We love Savannah. We live in a really old house, so I love to look at old houses. But I've been going with some Southern women introduced me to the whole concept of a girl trip. I didn't even know what that was anyway. So I've been going with them to St. Simon's for a long time. And so that's always fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of St. Simon's.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very good. Anything else coming up about, in your world in GPB that folks should know about or think about? Obviously we talked about the politics of it, but.
Yeah, I mean, just stay tuned. I mean, Political Rewind is, just an amazing show if you want to stay like super up to date on what's happening and you want civil conversation. I would say just watch our coverage. We have some exciting new hires coming, so there's that. Yeah, but just stay tuned and reach out if you have any ideas or you just want to communicate with us. Social media is a great place to do that.
Very good, and you'll let me know about those new hires.
Yeah,
keep me in the loop.
I mean,
Because I got my monthly newsletter, so it's like to kind of keep up with who's moving and coming in and going out and getting married and getting promoted and all that kind of fun stuff, right?
Absolutely.
It's a busy news environment in Georgia, so but it's fun keeping up with it because you guys
absolutely. I couldn't do anything else. I have the bug.
How long have you been at GPB?
15 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I joke that I've had almost every job except engineer.
And where were you before that?
So I was freelance writing for Viacom. I wrote for TV Land because we moved here. I moved here to Georgia because my husband is from here. And I had been working for a documentary film company in Connecticut. And we had lived in Salt Lake City and I'd worked at a TV and a radio station. So I came here and I just thought, I live in Macon, like career is super on hold. And then I heard about a job at GPB. Yeah. So the rest is history.
Very good. We've been talking with Josephine Bennett with Georgia Public Broadcasting. Thank you, Josephine. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Mitch. Nice to visit.
And as always, tune in Sundays, sometimes earlier in the day, sometimes later, depending on how busy Mitch is getting this thing posted, for another edition of our 4 Questions Journalist Spotlight. And as always, if you are looking for our directory of Atlanta media, go to leffsatlanta.media.com. And if you're a journalist looking for story sources, go to mitchesmediamatch.com or just give me a call, which is what more people seem to do anyway. So that's all good. All right. We're done for today. Thank you very much for joining us.